Hello, my name is Stephanie Toman, and today's video that I'm going to do for you is Word for project reports. We're going to use a template for this. It's one of the areas that can get a little bit stressful because you're concentrating on your subject area, and it would be nice if you had some help or somewhere to go to just clear up a couple of things that you might be getting stressed by with regards to the formatting and setting it out. And that's what this video will hopefully do. We're going to be using a template to do that. So the template will be available, and we're calling it the project template. These are the areas that we're going to go through today. And we're going to use the show and hide feature, which is really good to see what's going on behind a document and what we're actually applying and how it's been applied. You can see all sorts of things like pagination. You can see the section breaks, next page breaks, tabs, all those sorts of things. We're going to look at pagination and how we use those numbering styles. There's one already set up in the template, but we'll see how we got that and how you would set it up yourself. There's things about sections, different sections. So you've got next page sections, you've got continuous sections, and you've got different breaks that we're going to look at too. Heading styles are really important within a document like this because that's how we get our automated features, our table of contents, table of figures and table of tables, etc. And it's how we can easily update very quickly a lot of information by using those. Also, automated captions are very useful. Rather than putting them all in individually, we can make them automated, and then when it comes to updating them and changing things, that is also very quick and very useful. Final part of the captions that we're going to look at is always the tricky area of making a page or pages landscape orientation. For example, you may want to put some diagrams in that are quite large or detailed, and you want to change the pagination and the orientation at certain points in the document. So that's what we're going to look at. Hopefully it will help you. So we're going to get started by starting to look at the project template. Okay, so let's look at the project template. Here we have it here. You can see that there's a cross in the corner there. Click on that, you can see now that there is actually a hidden table. Hidden tables are really useful to keep text and everything nice and neat. And as you can see, this is beautifully presented down here. If we put the table on, we would see it on here. So if you wanted to put the full table on, you can see it there, and then the no tables, which is what's been used there. Okay, so that's that. Another thing that you can see the back of a document with is if you use this show and hide. So on the home tab, just up here, if you just hover on it, it always gives you a tooltip of what it is. And what this will do is, as we said briefly in the introduction, it'll give you the option to see the paragraph marks, hidden formatting symbols, etc. So we click that on. So now we can see where the the table rows are. There's those little marks there. And if we come down, we can see things like on here, you can see the actual section break for next page that's been inserted. And you'll find the section breaks. We'll look at these a lot more in a moment, but in the layout tab, you've got all of your breaks here. So these are the next page breaks, if you like. That's a next page break there. And that's the one where you can use Control and Enter on the keys. And there's continuous break. So next page breaks, we'll look at how they're used to change pagination numbering. So you can change the page numbering to something else. And the continuous breaks is where you're putting a break into a document, but not breaking its continuous element of being one document. So you can separate one document into sections, but it still looks as one document, particularly with regard to page numbering. So here we've got a section break, next page. If we come down, we can see all the paragraph marks. We can see all the little dots, very small, but they're the spaces. You can see 2 there, which is considered appropriate for a new sentence if you're doing it the RSA way. There's another page break. This is the Control Enter sort of page break. And if we look at it again, you'll find it. This is the next page break here that's being used. And we can go on and we can see that each page has a page break so that we're not doing enter, 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 going on to the next page. This is the correct way of doing it so that you get all this space. If you want to put anything in, you would pop it in there where I'm just highlighting that paragraph mark, and then that page break would still continue to work as you wish. You can see that in the top, in the headers, you've got the author's name ready for you to put your name, and then report title. If we go in here, you can see that if you hover on there, you've got your document info, and if you put your author in there, it will pop your name in there, or you can just type it in. It's up to you which way you do it. And then you've got your report title, shorten if necessary, to pop in there. Okay. Can bring it back out, so double click out of the headers and footers, double click in them, and that way we can get around them. In the bottom, you'll see that there's some page numbering, page 2 of 18. You may or may not have noticed that there is not a page, there's a page 1 starting there, but there is no page numbering on the first page. That's because if we go into the insert here and into the page numbering, you will see that there's the page numbering there, and we've got a different page. So if we double click into the footer, we're in there, and you can see that the header and footer details have come up. These are slightly different to what we normally see on the ribbon, and we can see that you've got page numbers there, and if you go into the bottom of the page, etc., we can see all the different types of page numbering that you can use. But also in this feature, you can see just along here that it has a different first page, and that's being ticked. So you take the tick out, and it would put the page number in, and then pop the tick in, and then it's now removed. And that would then start this page at 1 of 18. And you can, if you wished, you could right click on that because that's a field. If you click on any number or any item in a Word document and it's grey, when you click on it, that means it's a field. So it can be edited. And it could be, if you want, you could actually reformat it. So you go into this format pages instead of edit field. And you can go in there and you can get it to start at 1 or start at 2, whatever it is that you want to do with regards to that page numbering. So that's a really good way of getting into there. Another little tip while we're in here is if you click on the Find, still on the Home tab, if you click on the Find, you can use this feature on the side here. You can use it to look at the headings on large documents, so you can jump around quite a lot. You can expand and collapse these as well. So if you don't want to see the detail and you just want to see headings, you can do that. You can look at the pages, really good way of jumping around and seeing what's going on. And then you can see that we go all the way down to page 18, and then the pagination in here starts differently. So we've come to our appendices. So if we look at the Appendix A, we've got different page numbering here. So what's happened here is it's been typed in page A, and then there's a field. If we right click and edit field, we put the pagination in as 1. You can update, preserve the formatting if you wish, but the break is a section break next page, which means that 18 of 18 does not continue. It breaks the link between this and that 18 of 18. This breaks the link, and also if you look at this link to previous just here, now hover on it, this is what's used when you want to break the link between pages. So first of all, you have to use the section break next page so that it understands that you've broken the link as far as the page is concerned from the previous, and also that would have to be activated. Now if I click on it, it will ask me if I want to delete what's in there and connect back to the previous section. I don't, but it is there, so always remember that link to previous is used when you're linking up and continuing numbering, page numbering, as you're going through a document. Back into the main document again. We've looked at main things, so we could look at some page numbering if we wanted to use this, for example. If I'm in the bottom of the page, in the footer, if you go to the page numbering, if you go into here and into the bottom of page, you can see there's so many different things that you can use, and this is the one that you can use for page of pages. So this will automatically do what you wish, but obviously we have to manipulate it. and we have to make it work with the document. As we have in here, we've got this page 18 of 18 starting on the second page. And then we've got different page numbering, and we've sectioned that off with a section break next page. Whereas if we look up here on this one, these have got, that's got a section break because it's starting the new numbering on the next page here. And if we go up, these have all got page breaks. So page breaks just keep it nice and neat, but they don't affect the pagination or page numbering. They will let it continue and be linked to the previous. So page numbering can get tricky. We'll have a look at it more as we go through. But what I'd like to look at are those sections and those breaks. So I'm just going to come out of the document, and we're going to look at section breaks. So in here, as I've just said, we've got these page breaks, and these, if we go into the layout tab, you've got all your breaks here. So there's your page breaks and there's your section breaks. So they're putting there quite clearly what they are. This is used for columns. This is used for different text wrapping. So when your text goes onto the Word document, it's automatically wrapped across the page unless you change it with text wrapping or columns, whereby it will wrap like a column instead. Marks the point where one page ends and the next page begins. So this really does do this part here where you're not doing enter, enter, enter to get onto the next page, so you can have your next headings, etc. Then the next page here, this is about sectioning a next page, and it starts a new section off. So this was where we saw, if we just jump it over here into appendices, this is what we're using here, this type of section break. So what we're doing is we actually are breaking the sections between them, and that's because we change the page numbering, as you can see from earlier. If we look at the first one here, we've gone from the 18 of 18, pages of pages, X of Y, and we've jumped now to just pagination that individually puts those pages in for appendices, appendix A, B, C, as we've got down here, and it continues. They've all got their section break next page. The continuous break is really useful, and we're going to be using that when we use it for the landscape. So continuous pagination, that break will allow us to continue with the page numbering, but isolate that page off and change it to the orientation of landscape. So really useful tips there on how to use section breaks and get to know them. You can read about them as you do, but to actually use them and see what happens is a better way of understanding, I think, of what you're trying to do. And if it works, then you can maybe just make sure that you learn that and keep doing it. If it works, stick to it. The next area we're going to look at are headings. Really important with regard to putting in the automated features that you will definitely need to use in your projects or dissertations or long documents. They're called so many different things, but we're talking about projects today. Good way of jumping around the document: Control and Home. Takes you to the start, Control and End on your keyboard. Lots of other ways of doing it, and also we're using this way of doing it as well, this page numbering, so we can jump around and I can click straight onto the area where we have our table of contents. I'll go back to the Home tab and I'll take the Show and Hide off because it can get a bit annoying, and I'm just going to up the picture a little bit so you can see. Now this has got a template in it already, and it's telling you at each stage what it is expected in there, what you're supposed to be putting in there, if you like. So it's a really good guide. You can do your own if you want to, but I'm definitely going to show you how to put these in and how you can use different ways of doing it. But you can just use the straightforward template here. So the first thing is that we would take this here, and we're going to look at these headings. So these have to have headings in order to be included in the automated features table of contents. So here's a heading here. We're clicking the first one, and on the styles area just up here at the top, right above, there's a little launcher. I always use the launcher because it's a really good way of being able to see everything without having to drop down, etc. And you can see all the headings clearly. So we can see this is a UN heading 1. If we scroll down, And that one's a heading 1. That one, heading 2. So it's quite intuitive. It is what it is. And then obviously we've got our heading 3. And you can see that we're using the, if we look up here, we've got the multi-level list. That's what we're using, this sort of style in the document. So those headings work okay. And all those headings have been put into the table of contents. So if we were going to go up and take the table of contents out, so if we highlight all the way down, you may notice again that this is grey. So these are hyperlinks, if you like. If I just hover on that 2 there, you can see that they have control click. So they will, before we do delete it, let's just try it. So we go on there and it takes you to wherever it is you want to go in your documents. That's another really useful way of going to something and finding it and then getting there quickly and then updating something that you wish to work on. So back into here, highlight the table of contents. Really easy to pop these in. So we just delete it. There it is. So you place in your cursor, you've got your references tab. Now your references tab will have the table of contents here in the far left hand side, right at the top. And you'll have other things that we're going to be using too. You've got the bibliography, so you've got the bibliography styles that might change according to different schools, APA, and I think it's a Coventry University one. So that might help with building your bibliography, but most people are using things like references and stuff like that at the library, so it might be worth just sticking to that. But the areas we are going to use as well is this insert caption and insert table of figures. So they're the areas. We've got the table of contents over here. We've got the inserts of the automated features, captions and table of figures. So we're going to put a table of contents in. So we drop this down. I'm not going to use these set ones that are here. I'm just going to go straight into custom table of contents just down here. And this gives you a bit more leeway in how you want it to look. So you might have it coming from a classic template. You might have leader dots, but we're just going to go with the normal template as it is, as it would come up, and then just click on OK. And then replace the table of contents, yes, because it's already done, and then it would go in just like that. So it would be taking on all of your headings and your styles if that's what you want to do. Then if we were thinking about putting in the next one, the table of tables, you have to, if you think about the heading, so our table of contents here has the heading of UN heading 1. So if I pop in here and I put table of figures, it's our first one. Make sure your spelling's right, and table of tables. And you could highlight those, and then you can go down and you can find your heading. The UN heading comes down alphabetically all the way down here. Okay, so we've got our table of contents included. Now we're just going to look at if we wanted to manipulate things or we wanted to change things once those things have been put in place. So we chose our headings and we've got heading 1. So there's 3 things you can do with headings without getting into too many difficulties. 1 is you can create your own. 2 is you can modify existing headings. And 3, you can actually create a heading within your document and match one of the headings in the styles pane to take on board what you've put into your heading. Another little feature that's really useful, people may not be aware of, and the point of using automated features is this is one of the examples. So if I click on the introduction heading and I click on it, just this little arrow at the side here, and I click down, you can see that there are 12 instances in this project template. There could be a lot more if you were doing a larger, longer document. But the beauty of it is it will pick up all the instances with that heading. So if we scroll through, you can see that they're all coming up. So now we can manipulate or modify, if you like, which is the correct language, modify that heading, or all of those headings in one sweep, and we can do it by going into the side of it again. So back over into the modify, they've all been highlighted, and then we can use the different features here. So it's still called heading 1, and it's only happening in this document, what you're doing. It's not going to be happening on any new documents based on this template. This is only in this document that you can just see down here above the format button. So we can actually change the numbering of this. You can see all the actual styles that are and the formatting that's attached to the style. But if we go into the format tab, we can get into all the areas in the home tab through the tool. So if we went into the numbering, for example, we could change the numbering that we didn't like that one. We want to make our own. So we could change the numbering. It will give you an example. And then click on OK. And then you can see that that one and all the others are changed. So in one sweep, they could do that. We could go back in again. We could go to modify. They're still highlighted. Back in through the format tab. We could use borders. We could use things in paragraph like line spacing, paragraph spacing, line spacing. We could do lots of different things all through these features here. Change the font. But if we go back into there, into the numbering again, and we can go back into the one we had, OK that through and OK that through, and then everything is back to as it was. So that's the one where you're modifying and picking up all the instances as well. So if you clicked in there and you've got the heading 2, if you just scroll down, you've got there and you've got 9 instances. So the beauty of that is that you can do these automated features can be modified and changed really quickly. If you wanted to create your own heading, then you must place your cursor on the heading or the area you're applying it to, because then it will automatically apply. You won't have to then go off, find the heading, highlight the title or the heading that you want and apply it. So if you clicked on it and we create a heading, we just go to the create here, and then you could call it a style that you want. So it could be you could put my heading just to make it, and you could put my heading 1 based upon a paragraph. And then what we could do is we could maybe go in and we could change, we could put a border on it, which would be ridiculous, but let's just do it just for the fun of it. And let's do a red border so that you can see it properly. There we go. And OK. And then all of the, that style would apply there. You click OK, it would apply on that one. And then if I wanted all the instances, there's only one because we've only done it to one. So if we wanted to apply it to all, remember what we would have done is, I'm just going to do Control Z. I don't think it's going to do that, but we can get rid of the style. So we can go back in, my heading. What we could do is just click on there and then go back to heading 1, which is the way it was originally. So it's always there to use. And you could do a second and a third heading, and you can make it something meaningful to you. The final thing that you could do with headings to make them useful things you could do, and there's lots of things, is you can highlight something and you could make it your own. So if you went into your home tab, what you're doing is applying the formatting within the document, and then you're creating what you've done in here, you're applying it to one of the existing headings. So if I went to my heading 1, and I went into here, I'd use this feature called Update My Heading 1 to Match Selection. I click on there, that now will be, if I clicked on the next one and I did that, it's going to do the same. So that's now there for me to use. That's Control and Z just to take these off. This one I could just go back to heading 1 again. So nothing's ever, it's not in stone. You can change things accordingly. Get that to go back. And we're going to put that onto, escape. I'm going to put it onto a heading 1 there. Okay, so the next stage we're going to look at is using captions. So captions are really useful for putting different charts, data analysis, and particularly in data sciences or any of the areas really, where you can give visual impact of research and things that you've found out and you want to give to your reader. So let's have a look and see how we manipulate and use these. First of all, I'm going to put the show and hide on again. And you can see here, we've gone to analysis on page 10. It's there. You can see it's on page 10. Remember, we use the find and then the pages. And this is a good way of getting around the long documents. So I'm going to place my cursor in there. Now, in the folder that you have in the files, you will have some captions to use. So I'm going to go into the pictures, into this device. So you will be finding them wherever you're working, because you would have downloaded them to use them there. And I'm going to go into the desktop in my case, because it's just easier when you're demonstrating. And I'm going into the area that I've got these. I just come down a little bit. There's a project lectures. Okay. So Word for reports, and then in here, in the captions folder, I've got some captions that we can use in this document to demonstrate the things that we can do. Okay, so the first one I'm going to pop in is figure 1, which makes sense really. So I'm going to pop that one in. You can see that it's gone in. I'm just going to fix it by popping an enter between that paragraph there and the actual caption. This caption, when it's popped in, it is a hard edge caption. It doesn't float. It's not being wrapped, in other words. So the only way to manipulate it with regard to alignment is to use the buttons on the home tab, unless we do wrap it. Notice the page break is still under there. We need to keep an eye on our page numbering, because this can change according to what we do. Okay, so at the moment we're still on 10 and the one before is 9. So every now and again we'll just have a little look and check that that's still okay. So then we can put in our caption 2. So below that, if we just choose the paragraph there, and we could put in our caption 2. However, if we put in our caption 2, it is better actually, if we know we're going to put a number of figures, captions in, to actually deal with the first one first and make sure that when we insert more captions, they will be automatically labelled. In other words, it'll have figure 1, figure 2, or figure A or figure B, whichever one you decide to use. So on this caption, I'm going to do that first and get it ready for putting in more figures. So I'm going to right click. You can go into the reference tab up here. You've got the same feature just there, insert captions. So I'm going to right click, insert caption. Before I do anything with regard to the label, I'm going to use this feature here called auto caption. This will enable me to put extra captions or figures in this case, and they will automatically update according to how I've labeled the first one. So if we go into their auto caption, there's a bitmap there, and it is a bitmap in a sense. There are other things to be aware of. So if you're going to use tables in your document, which I will be, there's also a table feature there. Okay, so we've got the bitmap on for images, pictures, and then it sets it up, and then we can actually go in and do our caption itself. So in here, I could change this to figure. I look in here to find what I've got. I may not have these, so I'm just going to delete these because these are things that I've made earlier. And I want to show you what you will actually be able to find when you go into the drop down. And it'll be these three default areas that you can find for your captions initially. And we'll see how we create new labels in a little while. So I'm going to use the figure. I don't change the numbering here. I go to the numbering on here, and I'm going to stick to figure 1. I think it works well with my my data. So I'm going to OK that. I could put some text on it, but I'm not going to. So the next one I'm going to pop in is I'm going to place my cursor, go into the insert tab again, find my next caption that I've got ready, and I'm going to put in figure 2. So now what should happen, if I just bring that break down, when I actually do a caption, insert caption, it automatically comes up ready with figure 2. And I could put something on this if I wanted to label it. Some captions you do, some have really long labels. You can change the formatting things in those as well. So you could, whatever you need to do, you can pop on there. When I OK, that pops in as well. So if I now went up to my table of contents and table of tables and table of figures, I'm going to pop up to here. It's easier to work around that. I'm going to, after here, I'm going to put in table of figures. I can make sure that the heading's the same as I have on the table of contents, the main headings. And these, if I look in here, are UN heading 1. So I'll have that ready. So I'm going to go down to my table of figures, click in there, and then I'm going to find my UN heading 1. There it is. I'll come underneath it. And now we're actually going to insert them. So back to the References tab. We briefly looked at this area here when I talked about using the insert caption, and I talked about the insert table of figures. So I'm going to go for this one. So once again, you do have lots of template formats that you can use in here. We're just going to do the from template, use the leader dots that's available, and we'll make sure that this is on figure. And then when we OK, we pop that in, and you can see that the two figure 1, figure 2 captions that we put in have already been added. So we go back down to our page 10. Let's check that number in just briefly. Pull that over here. And you can see that things are still okay. And they're okay because we're still working within that section in. We've not got any breaks with regard to a next page break section. So I'm going to pop in another one. I'm going to play around with this one and see what happens. So we're going to go back to my insert and let's do figure 3. So into the picture again. There's our figure 3. Pick that one up. And there it goes. So I'm going to actually move this around because I want to sort of make this page less space really that's going on. So I'm going to wrap this figure 3. So I'm going to use square. So now I can move it up and I could move it there. And then I could do an auto caption. So back onto insert caption, and it's gone to figure 1. Because I've manipulated things. So let's say it's gone to figure 1 and I just put data on this one. And it's below and I OK. Right, so I've got my figure 1 data. And you see how it's changed figure 1, figure 2 and figure 3. So when I go up to my table of contents again, I wouldn't keep doing this all the time. But just while you're learning, I think it's good to just have a handle on things and just keep an eye on things and how they're going. So I'm going to right click, and this time I'm going to update field. Now, if I just update the page numbers, nothing happens. But if I update the actual entire, then the change that I've just done is automatically built in. And you can see how the things have changed. They're all on page 10, but they've manipulated them and changed things. These are links, hyperlinks, so I can use Control and click to go back to where I was and working. And you can see that I've got some different figures in there, and it's counted this one as the 1 and that one as 2. Just something just be aware of. Let's say we wanted, for some reason, wanted to manipulate this to be a different number format. So let's say this one, because it's over here, it's a bit odd. Let's change the auto number format. That's the field. When you click on an area in the auto caption, you can see it's a field because it turns grey. Let's say we wanted to do this as an A because it's slightly different to the others. So if we right click on it and we go to edit field, if you can't remember this, just think about there's not really a lot going on. All I can do is OK things through, or I had the option of this button here. So I'm going to try it. That looks good. So I'm going to use the capital ABC. If I don't add that to that field, add to this field here, it doesn't work. So if you do it and it doesn't change, you know that's probably what you've done. So if you do add it to the field here, and you can see it sitting there, and you OK it through, and you can see it again there, and OK, and then that will actually change to a different number format. So you can have the odd one for reasons that you want to make things different. And then you could go back, we can see that change in the update again, entire, and you can see that now it's become a figure A. Now, so let's go down to here again. And let's look at the next page down. Let's pop some charts in. A couple of little things we can do here. So let's bring this down. We can put, we can still call them figures. You don't have to call them charts. You could create a chart of charts, but normally they just stay as figures, and then they're called different chart names for representing different data. So we're going to go in this device. Always check whatever you're doing with regard to how things are acceptable within your school, and make sure that you abide by those. So we're going to pop chart 1 in. There we go. And this chart, unfortunately, has come out as the wrong way round. So if we click on the chart, which is already clicked on like that, and we go into the picture format, there is a rotate feature, which is really easy if you use it. You can rotate, and it's probably best to rotate. And you can see that what it will do, depending on how you hover, and we have it so that it's sitting straight. We could also put another chart in. Or we could do something like this. We could go to insert, we could go into the table, and we could put in an Excel spreadsheet, as very minor Excel spreadsheet that works in Word. So it comes up with a framework around it. So it's an object within. Just double click on it again and it becomes active. Cannot act a bit wobbly. So we can start to type into it. One sec. Let's try that. Just try that again. Can do this. It's because I've been messing around. Back into here. So once the frame's on it, well, there you go. You can start to type in just like that. So it doesn't always go the way it did with me because I was clicking around. So you could put information in here that you want to do yourself. You could put like 1, 2, I'm just making these up, 3, and you could get some data that maybe you just wanted to add at the end and you didn't have any particular charts ready, but you wanted to put it in. It might be something you want to put into the appendices or something like that. So you've got these things going on, and then you can actually make sure that these, if you want to bring them in, double click on it, make sure you got the frame again. Well, let's try it again, nice and gentle. Not happy, but we can pull them in still. And you can see how that data can be just the size that you want it, and then you can pull it out and show that data accordingly within your document. It's going to be a lot tidier than that, but that just gives you an idea of sort of things you can do. Just delete that. Other things you can do, if you go into the table again, you go into that area, you've got things like quick tables. So you could put, if you had a schedule or something and you wanted to put something on there, you've got these quick schedules, and then you can actually make these captions on these as well. So we could put a caption on here. So we're going to insert caption. We're still sticking with figure. We're happy with that. We could put chart, blah, 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 and okay. And then this one we could also caption. Let's have a look. Just click on it there. Might be better to go there. That's clearer when you can see it. That's got a figure 6 as well, and that could be a schedule or something that you wanted to bring into your and then that of course can be updated again, which we can do at the end. And if we did decide to keep the data one, if we pop something in, we have to make sure that when we pop it in, so if I've decided to do a data spreadsheet really badly, but I did it, I'm still doing it, I'm not going to give in. As you say, you're in the middle of things and you've got to get it right, get it done. Make sure that you do all the little things. So you could put, like I did earlier, 1, and we could make it even easier. I'm just thinking if the autofill works, just to make life easier, even in here it just double it, so it doesn't actually do a sequence. But if we do that and then we right click, it might do, no, it won't do a fill sequence, so we'll do a 3. Clever, but not that clever. And then we can just put some data in. And we could just put some more and decide that we are going to use it this time. And then we could bring in the, if you click into the data. You've got your double-sided arrow, drag it in as close as you can get without covering your data, and then come away. And then you could caption that as well. So it's getting hold of these things before we can caption them. There you go. And then that could be a figure 6. Pop that in there. We've written something about it. And then when we go all the way back to our captions in here, if we update them entire, you can see how it pops all that stuff in. And if I went back down into here and I decided to delete this one and take out the caption as well, of course, tidy it all up into it's in my data, and then back to the automated feature that will now automatically take out what I've just done. Okay, if you do an update entire, that, as you can see, has gone. So then we've got some other diagrams and things that we could put in. There is a final document on this that you will see, but this is when I'm demonstrating. I don't do it exactly, but it can give you a goal, if you like, or an aim to work towards, so that you've got a feeling of what you're doing. Just something just to, if we go into implementation, it's a bit further up. Number 7. Just check what page I'm on. It's 13, so here. So we've got I will do it on the testing. I think that's probably a good idea. Tables. So let's say we wanted to insert a table. Do you notice how it's not giving me the option? I click in there now and go on there. It does. So if I highlight something, that suddenly greys out. So let's pop a couple of tables in, not anything big deal. Same as before. So we've got a test 1, and then we could, if I copied that, let's just pretend it's another table, and I put that in, Control V, there's no labeling, nothing. So I'd have to label each one just like before, individually. So once again, I'll highlight the table. I'm going to insert caption, make sure it's set up for tables. So I'm going to go into the auto caption here. It's alphabetical, so it should come up, but it's word table, so that always throws people. I've done that. Pop the caption on. So now we can actually do it. Now we set it up, and we're going to put it into, we're going to make these tables. So we're going to put table, and we're going to have table, let's have numbering. Yeah, let's stick to the A. I think I like that. And then okay. So that now has a table. If I put in another one, let's pretend this is a new table that I'm inserting, Control V, and you can see what I'm sort of getting at. So now, each time I put in a new table, I will get that coming up, and that's good. So then, if I do decide to delete a table, let's say we delete this one, and we tidy it up, and then we go back up to our captions. I haven't even put it in yet, so I've got to remember to do that. So now I'm just going to pop in table of tables, bring that down, back to the reference tab. There's our insert tables again, right alongside insert caption. I'm going to pick table. It automatically goes to it sometimes, but just be careful that it does. Make sure it does. And you've got the right one. So we click in OK. There's our tables, and we've got A and C. So if we go back down to where we have our tables, if I put a new one in here, you can see how it's changed. ABC is quite happy to change that for us. I could even put another one in. It's gone to D, and then back up to where our table of tables are. Right click, update field, entire, and then you'll see that they all come out of me. So it's a matter of making sure that you use the auto caption feature in order to make these automatic. If you need to label them, then that's fine. You can do that. I'm just doing a very quick way of changing things in that respect. So you're updating these automatic features just in the same way as you automatically updated the table of contents. Okay. The final thing that I would like to look at is when we try to change a page into landscape, so it can get tricky. And I talked about pagination or page numbering quite a lot. So I'm just going to click and jump to page 13. So if we look at our page numbering across here, I'm just going to get rid of the styles. You can see that it's still quite going in sync, and it goes all the way to 18. And then when we get here, do you remember we had this section break next page so that our appendix could have a separate page numbering of its own. And then again, this one has an A one, this is a B one. So this is the reason these here are allowing us to do that. So let's say that we get to, let's look at page 17. And let's say that we want to put in a landscape page because we've got quite a large diagram or detailed diagram that we want to put in. So this is the page 17 that we have to try. It's got 14 there, one sec. 15, 16, this is it, 17. Okay, we use this one. So I'm going to just click in this page. So we're going to isolate this page. So in order to do that, we need to take this onto the next page. So we'll do a Control and Enter, and that's automatic gone onto the next page, and then everything else we'll have as well. So we've got this in here with a page break, and we've got the page before. So what I'm going to do to keep this tight is I'm also going to put in a continuous break. So I'm going to into the layout, into there, and I'm going to use this continuous break along with the page break. And you can see this page now is completely free, and that one isn't. So in order to keep this isolated, if I use this right now, and I went to orientation just up here, and I did landscape, before I do that, I'm just going to bring it down so you can see what it's doing a little bit better visually. And so if we go into here and I do landscape, on that page, it does everything in landscape. And the reason is that we've only separated one page. So Control and Z, and we're back to here. This page also needs to be separated. So what we're going to do is we can put one at the front of here, or we can put one at the end of the diagram. So let's just put one here. So we're going to put in a section break, and I'm just sort of like, we're going to try it and see what happens. And you can see that's gone to 14, so we really need to get rid of that because that's not what we want. So we're tidying up as we go along. We're keeping an eye on those numbers. See how we've got 17 to 17? And then this is changing. And that's because of this page break here. So that could change things, but don't worry, let's have a look. So we're popping back into here again, and let's try that orientation landscape. Still doing it. And the reason is, as probably a lot of you can see, Control Z, is that it's this page here where we're putting the diagram that we need to isolate. So I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to take, that one's okay. Yep. So we've undone and we've taken out that continuous. So I'm going to put the diagram in first. So this is our page we're isolating. I could put a section break in there to isolate it. We've got one here. So let's put the diagram in first. So let's insert, go and find the diagram. It might be easier to actually visually see it as well. Let's have a look, see what we got. We've got diagram one. Let's pop this one in. So you can see that that's not affecting that page. That's 10 of 17. So it's changed slightly because it's got 17 pages instead of 18. And the thing is, what we need is we need to isolate it at the front as well. So we're going to put in a page break. And we're going to put in a continuous section break. And that's now been broken off. Let's just get rid of just this numbering that comes up. Okay, so we can bring that down again. Right, so we've got plenty of room now. These are all okay. Our page number has gone up, but don't worry, we're going to fix that in a moment. So you can see there. And that's just tickety-boo in there, so we just need to change that as well. So now we go into the page, click in, and we go to the orientation landscape, and then it works on the diagram. That section is taken over onto its own page. So we can delete that and it's still staying okay because we've got our break and our section break, then our diagram, and at the end of the diagram, before we start the next page, we also have it again. And in fact, you probably don't even need it there like that. Right, so here's the landscape page again, and you can see that if you mess about with it, like if you make the diagram bigger, you're going to change how things are, and when you haven't got the show and hide on, you wouldn't always see that that's what's happened. So you'll think, oh, it's all gone into landscape again. What's going on? Just that page as well. So just be careful. Make sure that you can see what's going on when you move things around. With regard to the pagination, as I was just saying earlier, with the fact that we've gone into a landscape, you'll find that this won't sit in the corner because it won't on landscape. The nearest thing really is towards the centre, around about there, if you can get it to sit there, and that's usually fine. So just to finalise, we've gone over quite a lot today. So we've looked at all the things that you can do within a project. Most importantly, though, make sure that you're aware that things can be different according to the project that you're doing. So colleges will have their own ideas about how you should do things. So make sure that you do talk to a supervisor if you're not sure, and abide by their remit so that you don't lose anything with regard to not following the correct format. This should hopefully get you through most things, and hopefully enjoy it, and you can manipulate things according to what you need to do. Okay, thanks for listening and take care.